Okay, we're going to go graphing the derivative given the graph of the polynomial function. I just zoomed out far so we could read everything and look at what we're about to do. We're going to zoom in here. This is the graph of the original polynomial function, which is denoted as f at x. Okay. Now, since we know about increasing and decreasing, if we're following along this function, at this point we are decreasing, and we're going to call this a critical value. I tried to draw it as best I could. Okay. This is our critical value, or where our slope is 0. Okay? What that means, if I scroll down, because we're decreasing, that means we have some negative value. Okay? Our negative value, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually try to draw a line that continues down. Maybe we zoom out just a bit. That's a bit better. At this point, because the tangent is 0, that's a critical value. And because at this point here, we have another critical value, our tangent is 0 once again. We'll zoom back in a moment. What that means for this graph is, at this point, we're at 0. So that means this graph here is hitting 0 at that point. And again, if the slope is, our tangent slope is 0, that means this graph is also crossing the x-axis at that point. Because it was decreasing, that means this graph is negative up until this point. Okay. And then what happens, we'll zoom in a little, is between here, it increases. Okay. And then it hits 0 again. So if we go down in our graph, we know we have a positive, but because it hits 0, or a tangent of 0 again, we know this graph has to come back down. It doesn't matter that it's changing directions. What it matters is that it's positive in this instance. It's negative to the left here, and what we're about to find out is it's negative again to its right. And the reason we say it's negative again to the right is because from here on down, it's decreasing again. So this graph needs to be negative from this point on. So we'll zoom out. Okay. So when comparing the two, we need to draw similarities. This is negative, therefore this graph is negative. Sorry, this is decreasing, therefore this graph is negative. It increases in that little interval there, therefore this needs to be positive. It has a critical value at 1, so this graph, it still stays positive, but does need to come back down to 0 at that point, because we know the slope is going to be 0. And then from there on in, it decreases again, so this needs to be negative all the way down.
Good afternoon. Please pardon the interruption.